to Marketing Hot Takes, the show where we skip the fluff and get straight into actually what's working right now in the marketing world or in business growth. I'm Rodney Lamar, I'm your host, and I'm joined by someone who's blending tech, creativity, and hustle to build something really special. A student entrepreneur who's turning ideas into action. My guest today is Lashon Smith, founder of RevoVend, a platform that connects vendors, gig workers, and small companies to big tech and creativity. It weaves all these things in, the hustle too. And she's really trying to inspire others. Lashawn, I am really, really happy to have you on the show.
It is definitely an honor to be here. I do appreciate you inviting me on. This is only the second interview that I've been on to be able to publicly speak about RevoVend. So it's a big deal for me.
Awesome. So Lashawn, what's your take?
My take is, when people don't really understand how the niches work, you absolutely need to hone in on who your market is, because if you try to talk to everybody, then you'll end up talking to nobody. And so where my brand particularly is, not only am I trying to narrow down to those niches, is that we need to stop being so dependent on social media and get back out there while we can. So where my where my area of expertise takes me out in front of the people. And so what you'll find is when you get in front of real foot traffic, when you put your information out there, the people who are inspired by your brand, that's your tribe. Those people will naturally gravitate to you, and that's where your loyalty will begin to be built.
Hey guys, I wanted to pause real quick and take a moment to thank our sponsor, All Booked Up. For you marketing agencies out there, most of you are losing clients between 6 and 12 months into the relationship, and it's rarely because of lack of leads. Many times it's because your clients don't have an effective system in place to call those leads quickly and book those appointments onto their schedule. And that's where All Booked Up comes in. All Booked Up is a white label appointment setting service agencies can add to their offer. ABU takes the leads that your agency generates for your clients and turns them into real, qualified, and confirmed appointments and books them directly onto their calendar. If you want to increase client satisfaction, lower churn, and boost your revenue, visit abufораgencies.com. Back to the conversation. Awesome. So, when we talk about this, I think one of the questions that people, or one of the concerns people have when it comes to like niching down in general, because I would say that in the past few years, a lot of people have talked about niching down, the importance of finding your tribe, finding your people, finding the people who resonate with your message, who have this particular pain point. I feel like that's been preached, and a lot of people are doing that, but there's this resistance to go down that route because they feel like they might possibly be leaving money on the table. What would you say to that, to the people who feel that they're potentially losing out if they do that?
Well, I just got out of a training not too long ago with Forbes Riley, who was the queen of QVC. She was the lady who basically pitched her way into being practically a billionaire, and she didn't even own one product. And she made a point to say that, sometimes you can over niche. So I think everybody needs to find that balance, because you can go through all these trainings. I won't mention the particular trainings because they are people who have provided value too, but you get to these points where, you try to find your avatar and you do this and you do that and you do this. I think there's a special balance that you have to find, when it comes to niching down, but it's important, because if you go too broad, again, you just won't be able to. And here's the thing. All money isn't good money when you say leaving money on the table, because if you try to get a customer that doesn't understand your product and they want a discount, those people who don't understand, they're going to want a discount. And those are the people that you'll pay that will be the cheapest, but they will be your biggest headaches. So understand, all money is not good money.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely agree that all money is not good money. Not that it's dirty money, but it doesn't, if it's not pushing you towards your organization's goal or your personal goal, then it doesn't really serve you, and it's a distraction more than anything else. But Lashawn, I don't know how you feel, but I've learned this concept of relationship capital. Like, it's all about who you know. And my agency in particular works with marketing agencies. We're not particularly a marketing firm, but All Booked Up services and works closely we partner with marketing agencies throughout the United States and Canada. And when we are introduced to a lot of these different companies, it's through referrals. And sometimes it's through people that have nothing to do with, us or what we do, right? They're not our actual client. So when you talk about that balance, like, how do we balance relationship capital? Because it is all about who you know nowadays in business.
I think that we should always nurture our warm leads and let them come to the conclusion that this may be something that I can use now, or I'll table it for later. But let them make that decision, because the moment you try to push something on them that they don't really need or want, as soon as it becomes an inconvenience to them or a burden of price or a burden of just them not really, it's the product or service is not really clicking, it's not linear for them, then they're going to become that same inconvenience to you. They're going to continually question how to make it fit with their business model. You're going to be spending more time than your normal customer acquisition costs calls for, and time is money. So we don't want to be spending days and hours and on just one client for one sale. Those are the type of people you have to understand. Let them come when it's their time. If your marketing doesn't particularly work on them for that time, set it in front of them, keep them on your email list, and when it's time, they will come with the full understanding of how they can incorporate your service into their business.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds solid. So if there is a case to be made for going broad, which should be the exception according to what you're saying, like, when should we go broad instead of like hyper niching or niching down? When is it acceptable to go broad?
I think it's acceptable to go broad when you don't know what your niche is. I think there could be a discovery phase in your business where you haven't really quite figured out your avatar. I do feel like that will cost you time because you haven't taken the time to figure out who your niche is. And that's fine, because you might discover something else in that process that may become of value to you, or segue into something else that you can offer on down the line by experimenting with people who may not be perfect for you for that particular offering. But you may discover something else that I may not be able to offer these people this with XYZ service, but with 1, 2, 3 service, these people will be perfect. So you'll find a plethora of things when you don't niche down. I think there's a method to that madness, but eventually you're going to discover that everybody is not your client. It's just like, even, I don't know how religious you are or anything like that, but even basic biblical principles teach that, like, everybody is not, in your particular tribe, but there is a place for them. There is an area for them that you can still give them some type of service, but it may not be the particular one that you're focusing on right at that moment.
Yeah, I can see that. Let's say I'm starting out and I'm doing like you said, I'm going broad because I'm trying to figure out, like, where I want to be, where my niche is, where my tribe is, where do I fit in? What do I want to do with this business? Who do I want to serve, right? How do I know? Like, what are the signs that I'm looking for that says, like, that turns on that light bulb in my head and I said, that's the kind of person that I want to serve. That's the kind of person I want to deal with. That's the kind of clients I want, or that's the niche I want to be in. Is it strictly based on money, or is it based on something else?
I think it's strictly based on the scientific gravitational pull. If you put out the formula for what they need, they are going to be attracted to you, because we're not out here trying to chase. We are attracting our customers. So you lay out the blueprint for what you have and you package it so it's an attractive offer. The people are going to come to you. There's no thing that we can do by lassoing somebody in. If you, again, those are going to be your problem customers. If anything feels forced in a business relationship, it's going to end excuse me, tongue tie, it's going to be a disaster at some point. There's going to be a break in that relationship, because somebody is going to feel stressed, somebody is going to feel pressure, even if it's just ever so slightly. So that relationship is going to break. The way you package, the way you present, the way you put things out there will be the measure by which those who need your service or want your service, or even like how you present your service and may not necessarily need the service, but they like how you did that and they want to do business with you because they want to support you. There's different levels of that support that come with that, but your people will come to you if you put it out there the right way.
Awesome. Now, I tend to agree that business is proven by people paying you for a service, right? And if you offer a service, because a lot of us entrepreneurs, we get into business and we think we want to run a certain type of business, and then we get into it and we realize it's not actually that business that we want. It's a certain aspect of it, and then we make a pivot, right? We change what we want because we realize we're not attracting the right type of clients, or where the services that we're offering is just not really what we want to offer. And then we pivot and we change our business. We change what we put out there, as you mentioned, and then we start attracting those who we want actually to come into the business. But talk to me about RevoVend. How did you discover this in your journey with RevoVend?
So in 2010, I got laid off, and I got a severance pay with my airline job. With that severance pay, I decided, okay, I want to start a business. The thing that I was most interested at that time was cloth diapers, because I knew that nobody else was doing it. That's usually how I base my ideas on things that, and this was a mistake I later learned, I base it on things that the populace isn't necessarily focusing on. I had to switch that model a little bit, because 60% of my startup funding had to go to educating the people on cloth diapers, because we're about 3, almost 4 generations removed from cloth diapers, because Pampers and Hugs and Loves have the market on lock to the point where people don't even think about the health benefits of cloth diapers versus the convenience of regular diapers. Nobody wants to have urine on their butt for more than 10 minutes after they pee, but we have been desensitized to the fact of the convenience that we can let a baby pee in a diaper 2, 3, 4 times, and then we don't change it until it's visibly noticeable that there might be a little bit too much pee in there. And then we don't think about the chemicals that go into that process of how it's able to retain and hold all that pee. So anyway, half of my money was spent on educating about the benefits of cloth diapers, and then my tribe started coming. I had a tribe. I was in a military town. That worked for me, but by that time I was so depleted of my funds that I had to sell part of my business to somebody that I wasn't compatible with, and then I had to start another venture. All the way up until today, RevoVend, a part of that venture and that education process was doing vendor events. Vendor events are a particular market that you have to be dedicated to, especially if you're going to travel with those events. There's a lot of logistics involved, and there's just a lot of energy that goes into vendor events. And I've seen how people build their whole lives around it to the point where they were just completely nomadic, and it worked for their business. Now, understanding all of that and having to go through all of that to get to where I am now, I wanted to lower the barrier of entry for people to do vendor events without the stress of having to travel. So what RevoVend does is it allows you to, as a business owner, it allows you to connect with event hosts that become a part of a trusted ecosystem where you can send your products. I live in Connecticut, you live in California. Um, and I have products that may not sell well in Connecticut because of the cold weather. I make custom bathing suits. Nobody's really going to the beach in Connecticut, but they might go. They might enjoy or appreciate my bathing suits more in California. So I find an event host, or through the platform, people connect with these event hosts in these different cities and states, and you can send your product there. And then the third piece of the puzzle is that now I'm also able to stimulate the local economy in California by giving someone an opportunity to vend at a vendor event versus go drive an Uber. So for this gig opportunity, you don't even have to have a car. You're in an environment where you get to learn about different businesses, network, and then you're making the same money that you might have to make driving around 6 hours with a stranger in the back of your car, or doing a DoorDash where somebody might accuse you of stealing or eating their fries. So we give so many opportunities, and it creates a trusted ecosystem. And if anybody knows vendor events, it's actually really fun. A lot of people
Yeah.
only do vendor events because it may not be as lucrative, but it is fun. But now we've made it fun and we've made it lucrative, because not only are we doing vendor events for like one-time events so you can test the market in those different cities and states without having to travel. We're also getting ready to go into booths, which are kind of like pay as you go per month. And now we're talking to people in malls so that these small vendors can combine with other small vendors, lower the barrier of entry to even get spaces at malls and kiosks. So we are like really doing some interesting things in the vendor event space that's never been done before. And it all came because I had to figure out different aspects of businesses. I had to bump my head in it. And you do have to understand what people want. I just thought that I was going to invent a product and make people want it. Well, I did create that buzz after I spent almost all of my money. So it is possible. But people who are in vendor events, once they fully understand what RevoVend does, they'll gravitate to it. It's just taken a little while because it's never been done before. So here I am, doing something very scary that's never been done before. So that's how I learned how to apply all of that, what we talked about, into RevoVend.
Great. So for the people who want to connect with you and learn more about RevoVend and the platform, how can they do that?
Yes, you can go to https, don't put www, https:// revovendapp.com, RevoVend app.com. Or honestly, you could just type in RevoVend and I'm like at the top of the Google search. Like I'm there. Like there's no other RevoVend doing what I'm doing. So you'll see me. You can also email me at RevoVend@gmail.com or info@RevoVend1. I got to work on my branding with that. Info@RevoVend1.com. Or you can give me a call, 704-222-3986. On the website, you don't even have to log in. So one great thing is, if you know of any events, this may not be your lane, but if you know somebody that's a business owner and they do events and they need to sell tables, if you've ever seen somebody do an event and not sell out their tables, like you have no idea what that is for an event host. Yeah. So event hosts may be more susceptible of selling a few tables to people that are out of town. So if you know a friend or family that's an event planner, event host, and you want to help them sell tables, just upload their flyer up to, you don't have to log in or anything. Just upload their flyer, and we've gamified it to where people can say, oh, I'm interested, or I'm ready to buy a table right now. So they can see the interest before they even claim that event and on board to RevoVend as a host. So again, we're doing some some crazy and amazing things in the event sector, but that's how you can get a hold of me if you want to learn more.
Awesome. Lashawn, it's been a privilege talking to you today.
Thank you. Likewise. I thank you for just even, allowing me to be on the platform and responding to me and just being so gracious of a host. And I wish you the best. And I actually was listening to your sponsor plug, and I understand that that's a part of who you are, and I will be in touch because I think I might need something like that.
Absolutely. We'd love to connect. All right, guys. So that is the end of today's episode. And before we close, just a quick reminder, this episode is sponsored by All Booked Up. For all you agencies out there who are looking to connect, abuforagencies.com. Take care.